City today?
Hey everybody, I'm stuck in traffic. That's what I'm doing in New York City, which is what I haven't been doing over the course of the last 70 plus days. I have been driving throughout the continental 48 states, offering hugs and high fives to people and trying to make people smile, and I have officially done it. As of yesterday, I hugged and high-fived people in all 48 states, and I'm just having sort of a victory lap here in New York City, and I'll be going to the New York Stock Exchange and possibly, and I do mean possibly, ringing the closing bell. So that's my deal. I started June 26th in Philadelphia, drove south and sort of zigzagged throughout the country until I got to Los Angeles, and then I drove north as far as Seattle, and then I started to cut east and sort of zigzag the top portion of the country, and here I am, and it's been a wonderful tour, man. I have met so many people, seen so many things. Thank you, and it's just been a wonderful experience. I mean, probably the best word I can say is that it's been rich. I mean, it's just been rich with stories, rich with a lot of perspective, and I've met people of all ages, from babies that gave me their first high fives ever in Louisville, Kentucky. The father was like, he never gives me a high five. To I think the oldest person I met is 91, I think. To people from 49 different countries. 49. It's crazy. That was what started it. My friend Kevin Bowser died on September 11th in the World Trade Center attacks. And I wanted to do something to honor his life and just sort of commemorate our special friendship. Kevin and his twin brother Kelvin were like big brothers to me, and without those guys, I wouldn't be here. I mean, I'd be here, but I'd be doing something completely different. And the great thing about Kevin and Kelvin was that they were always pushing for me to be better, a better student, a better man, a better this, better, just always pushing me to be better. To celebrate Kevin's life and, like I said, our friendship, I decided to ride my bicycle across the United States in 2002. And it was a wonderful experience. I mean, so wonderful that it made me think about the next trip. And the next trip was across Africa. I bicycled from Cairo to Cape Town. That was a 5.5-month trek through Africa, and it was great. What I always tell people is, if biking across North America pushed me right to the edge, getting to bicycling across Africa pushed me totally off the edge. And instead of falling off the edge, I was flying. I was just really a new me, a bolder soul emerged, and I wanted to do even more. So the next trip that I did was across Asia, from Istanbul to Beijing. Again, that was another 5 months biking, and it was great. And that was probably physically the most grueling out of all the bike trips that I've taken, but it really opened the doors for me, because when I got back from Asia, I wrote an article for ESPN that ended up getting a ton of hits from all over the world. People read my story, and two big things happened from that. One, Jim Capel from ESPN recommended me to write my own story, which is a huge break. God bless Jim Capel. It just wouldn't have happened if Jim didn't say so. Two, after the article came out, one of the editors at ESPN, Jenna Janovi, called me a gifted writer. Gifted, and no one hears the words gifted about anything unless you're a professional musician or something, or you are a kid. And so to hear the words that I was a gifted writer really did something to me and really inspired me, excuse me, to go on to later write a book. But another thing that happened was I got a bracelet in the mail about 8 weeks after the story came out, and it's this bracelet that you can't really see in the dark right now because I'm in a tunnel, but it's a silver bracelet, and it was from a woman that said, about 8 weeks afterwards, it said, my mother would reread your article after every time she had chemotherapy.
Wow.
And every time that she would read your article, it would make her smile. I want to thank you for making my mother smile during that painting time, and tell you that she has since passed on. I think she'd want you to have this. Please keep going. So when you are writing about your life, just my life, my cycling trips, and when you're just doing my thing, finding myself, commemorating my friend, and it touches somebody enough to send you their recently deceased mother's jewelry, it's something. It's a chord. I struck a chord with people, and you know, and it's and I just wanted to explore this even more. I was doing 80. I thought that was the speed limit. Turned out it was 70. And when I got pulled over, I said, dude, I was doing 80. He said, yeah, I know, you were doing 80 on the button. And I said, wasn't that the speed limit? He said, no, it wasn't. It was 70. And I said, oh, my bad. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm doing this Hugs and High Five tour of the country. And he said, okay. So we're talking for a little while, and he says, look, let me check out your license and, you know, whatever it is. Yeah. So he goes back to the car, comes back with a piece of paper, and I'm like, shit, man. I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I'm like, fuck, he's going to give me a ticket. And he says, listen, he said, one thing that the great state of gives me is discretion. And he said, I really like what you're doing. He said, I like the energy that I'm getting from you. And he said, you know, I'm going to use my discretion and not give you a ticket. And he said, and this is just a piece of paper saying that we had a conversation, and we are now, when he handed me the paper, he said, we are now just two dudes on the side of the road just talking. And so he said, so what's it like? And I was like, what? He said, everything. He's like, what's it like? You know, hugging people, going around. We had this talk for about 15 minutes on the side of the road. And after a while, I was talking, and I said, you know, dude, do you mind if I give you a hug? And he said, that's what I've been standing on the side of the road waiting for, man. And so I gave him a hug, and I said, oh, wait a minute, I got something for you. And he's like, what is it? And so I went and I gave him, and the one time I don't have them, I have these wipes. Duke Cannon, the soap company, gave me these wipes that I've been giving away all over the country. They're called cold shower packs, and I've just been giving them away to people. I can't believe I don't have them right now. And I gave them a ton of these wipes. And I said, you know, I know you're sitting in a patrol car, you know, this, that, and the other. I said, you know, they help keep you, you know, unfunky. And he's like, thanks. He said, but I'm a cop. I can't accept this. This is a gift. And I said, no, we're just two guys standing on the side of the road. And he said, oh, man, you caught that, right? And I said, yeah, I did, man. And so he accepted the wipes. And he said, let me ask you a question. He said, would you have given me these wipes even if I had given you a ticket? And I said, yeah, man, shit, it's just, you were just doing your job. And technically, I guess I was speeding. And he just laughed. He said, yeah, technically you were, man. And that was it. And that was in a very, very white state, you know, where I did not get a ticket, and I got a hug from a cop, and, you know, whatever. I just had a good exchange. So I think, that's one of the exchanges that I've had on this tour. I was driving, I was in Mississippi, I saw a sign from Philadelphia. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I said I'm going to go to Philadelphia, Mississippi and get some hugs and high fives. I was speaking to a friend of mine on the phone. She warned me about venturing off the beaten path in Mississippi and told me not to go, and was really concerned with me going into this restaurant, this random restaurant that I saw. But I was like, I am going to go, and she was like, tell me the name of the restaurant, and I'm going to call you in 19 minutes. And I was like, okay. And so I went into this restaurant, to a Mexican restaurant owned by an Indian guy in the middle of Philadelphia, Mississippi. And inside of those 19 minutes, I ended up with a free meal and a free drink, and just not only high-fiving the owner of the bar and restaurant, but having the owner say, hey, listen, my restaurant is your restaurant. Go high-five people. Go do it. So I went around, had my big sign, said, hey, I'm Big Dave. I'm doing this tour. And I said, I'm just going to walk around and offer you hugs and high fives. You can take it or not. And as I'm going through, I'm looking at, oh, that old lady, she looks sweet. She's going to high five me, or she's going to hug me, this, that, and other. I'm going and I'm essentially profiling the floor. And I get up to a guy that is typical, whatever you think a redneck looks like, he looked like it, wearing a what's his face, tattoos all over his neck, a frayed baseball cap, he had what's his face, a wad of tobacco in his mouth, and and I looked at him, I said, this guy is not going to high five me. So even as I'm going up towards him, I'm just sort of kind of like half-assing my high five. But this dude looks at me and he says, man, hugs and high fives? He says, shit, I can get behind that. And he gives me a high five and then stands up. And then when he stood up, I thought maybe, oh, here it comes. But he stood up and he gave me a hug and he said, good luck out there, brother. And I was shocked. I was shocked because here I am. I profiled this guy, and he was much cooler than what I imagined, and that really let me know that I need to chill out on my shit. I need to chill out on my assumptions of people, because it happens to me all the time, and I need to calm down on that, on my stuff. So that was something that for the rest of the trip, for out there, I think that was my 9th state, for the other 41 states, that I just sort of chilled out on my assumptions of people, and really concentrated even more on taking people as they are. This tour has been, again, there's a million different ways that you can cut this tour, and every way you cut it, it always comes back to, it's been good, it's been fabulous, and it has increased my faith in people, and it's encouraged me to, what's the phrase, reach across the aisle and try and talk to some people and communicate, because if we can agree on a hug, that we both like hugs and high fives, then maybe we can agree on something else, and then maybe more things can happen in this world. I mean, the one thing people have been asking is like, what do I want from people? And I said, I just want everyone to be happier, and if you're eternally pissed, I mean, if I can get you up to being just annoyed or perturbed, I mean, that's great. So I mean, wherever you are, just come up a little bit, and if you just come up a little bit, then maybe we can some things can happen in this world, because I'm not totally right and you're not totally wrong. The answer for all of us is going to be some sort of compromise somewhere, and that's it. So I'm willing to lay it on the line in order to make this world better, because someone has to.